It was a dangerous atmosphere, so I decided to observe from a distance without getting too close. The moment I thought that, my eyes met Feldway's as he looked up. His eyes were chillingly empty. And yet, for some reason, I felt like they were filled with a despairing sadness. I was at a loss. Of course, I should defeat him, but doing so would leave a lingering unease. Even though I knew I would regret it, I hesitated to act. If I knew I would regret it, then I should stop it. But trying to look cool was my mistake. Feldway looked up at the sky, and the next moment, he disappeared before our eyes. Using that ability that made him untraceable instant movement, he had jumped somewhere. Hey, Rimuru-san. He got away. Wait, don't make it sound like it's my fault. But come on, it's totally Rimuchi's fault, right? Hey. I'm just being thoughtful, alright. Things had taken a serious turn. Feldway's escape had been completely pinned on me. Wait, no, hold on a second. Sure, I stopped Diablo, but who would have thought he'd actually run away? Feldway seemed like the proud type, so the idea that he'd choose to flee didn't even cross my mind. I was also overconfident, thinking that even if he ran, we could track him down. But then he used instant teleportation. This is different from spatial transfer, it doesn't create any spatial distortions when leaping. The only odd sensation occurs when appearing in a new location, but detecting that is practically impossible. Well, maybe if I could perceive the entire Axis world, it'd be possible. It is possible. Wait, what? Seriously? Isn't it supposed to be untraceable? Tracing itself is impossible, but by observing the magical energy across the world, we can pinpoint the location of his appearance. In this case, since he didn't appear on the surface, he must have fled to some other dimension. Oh, I see. So, the moment he arrives in this world, he can be detected, right? That is correct. Well then, I guess. Even if he escaped, it might not be such a big deal after all. Calm down, everyone. Feldway running away isn't that big of a problem. In fact, it means we can focus our forces on other pressing issues. Let's try to look at this positively. I emphasized this point and tried to steer the conversation in a different direction. Subtly, I aimed to downplay the importance of the issue to make my responsibility seem less significant. Exactly. With Rimuru-sama's foresight, whatever Feldway does won't be a problem. Besides, I didn't have the capacity to stop him anyway, so there was nothing I could have done. It was the perfect flow. Diablo backed me up, which added credibility to my argument. If we push ourselves any further, we might not be able to serve Rimuru-sama properly. To prevent that, we must continue with our deep love. Okay, that's a bit much. There's a lot of misunderstanding here, and it's about time to wrap this up. Alright, that's enough. For now, let's put Feldway on the back burner. We should split into two groups and prioritize solving the other issues. Everyone nodded in agreement with my words. And then, the situation rapidly shifted. As planned, I decided to head towards the former Ursania. Milim and Valdor were to go to Damergania to prepare for the battle against Ivarage. Chloe insisted on staying with me, but I overruled her. Her ability to see the future would be invaluable in the battle against Ivarage. As someone who wants to minimize casualties, I believe there's no such thing as too much insurance. As for the others, Leon, Zalerio, and Sylvia were both mentally and physically exhausted, but they insisted on accompanying Milim and the others. Omija, also known as Eltan, was rallying the still active mage corps. Naturally, it was Yuuki's role to transport these forces. Guess it's up to me again, Yuuki said. Of course, I replied. Sigh, I don't really have any heroic aspirations to save the world or anything. You don't have to be a hero. Sometimes the process is important, but this time, only the result matters. If we can't protect the world, it's all over. Saying we tried but failed holds no meaning this time. I emphasized this to Yuuki. Yuuki understood that he had no choice but to act, and he would have cooperated even without my prompting. His grumbling was likely just a way to make me owe him one. After all, he's tried to use and deceive me countless times before. While I intend to let bygones be bygones, I can't completely shake off my lingering resentment. I think you understand, but let's keep a good relationship going forward, okay? I said to Yuuki with a smile. This was my way of subtly telling him that I wasn't going to let him off the hook so easily. Yuuki gave a wry smile. I get it. We'll talk more about it later. He's as resilient as ever. I also smiled wryly and decided we'd discuss things more thoroughly later. As we were having this conversation, Kagali was watching us with concern. Knowing the full history between me and Yuuki, she probably thought that our fate hinged on how I would act. Well, I do have my own thoughts on the matter, but I've also heard about Yuuki's circumstances. As long as they agree to be monitored to ensure they don't cause trouble, I don't mind letting them live as they please. In other words, Kagali's worries are unfounded. Though they may be unfounded, from her perspective, there are still plenty of other concerns. The biggest one would probably be where they can return to. They can't go back to the Inglasha kingdom, and they've lost their place in the empire. The territory of Clayman, which was originally their own country, the puppet state of Jistav, is now under Milim's control, with me managing it in her stead. At this point, Yuuki and the others have no place to return to. Especially Kagali, who just finished her revenge against Chahal. It wouldn't be surprising if she's experiencing burnout. While saving the world might lead to a happy ending, without some kind of reward, it might be hard to muster the motivation. Even so, what's bothering me is the presence of that mysterious woman. She looks somewhat familiar. She is the elder of the Dark Elf clan who was in Clayman's castle. Ah, that's right. I remember now. She had a somewhat shadowy presence back then, but now she seems to be standing guard, as if to protect Kagali. I see. If they were originally comrades, then I, who defeated Clayman, would have been their enemy, or at least that's how it should be. But at that time, Clayman was also under mind control, and was treating the Dark Elves like slaves. Thinking back, the elder must have had complicated feelings about it all. Oh, it's been a while. You came too, Eva. It has been a long time, Demon Lord Milim. How have you been? I wouldn't say I've been well, but I've managed. Huh. Milim, you knew the elder. Yes. Eva is good at cooking, so she's helped me out a lot. Ah, I see. Considering that Midray is around, the Forgotten Dragon's city only serves raw vegetables. So, whenever Milim wanted to eat something tasty, she relied on the other demon lords. One of those people was the elder Eva. In that case, Milim, I have a proposal. What is it? How about returning the territory of the Jistav to Kagali and her people? Yes, what I just thought of was that in order to keep Yuuki and his group motivated, they needed an incentive. And the perfect solution was Jistav, the Puppet Nation, which we had been unsure how to handle. That place was far from the new capital of Milim's nation. They had plans to revive it as a tourist destination featuring ancient ruins, but that was something for the distant future. Until then, I had been entrusted with its management. But to be honest, I already had a lot on my plate. Handing Jistav over to Yuuki's group seemed like the perfect win-win solution. For Yuuki and his people, it would be a reward. For me, it meant one less troublesome territory to deal with. Right now, there wasn't much interaction among the citizens, so the economic impact would be minimal. The transfer could be done without causing major chaos. If Milim agreed, the decision would be final. It's a good idea. I did cause a bit of trouble, after all. As an apology, let's proceed in that direction. Milim, you caused more than just a bit of trouble. You caused me trouble too, so I figured you'd agree. It was just a little. It was a huge pain. Although there was a somewhat futile argument, Milim also agreed. Is it really okay, Rimuru-san? Can we truly place our expectations in this? Yuuki asked me nonchalantly, while Kagali inquired hesitantly. It's not my territory, so I can't make any promises. But since Milim has agreed, I think things will work out somehow. I nodded in response. Currently, those remaining in the puppet state of Jistav are the followers of Elder Eva. In other words, they are likely the true companions of the former Demon Lord Kazarian. Therefore, getting them to submit to us will be a difficult journey. If that's the case, the policy of transfer and control is something that even Carrion and Free would tacitly approve of. But of course, that's only if the world remains protected. As expected of Rimuru-san. If that's the case, I might as well put in a bit more effort, Yuuki said with a cheerful laugh. I'm no longer fooled by Yuuki's suspicious smile. Listen, don't forget the conditions. Maintaining our cooperative relationship and prioritizing my requests. I'll be keeping a close eye on you. Of course. I don't fully trust him, but I've got his word. It seems like I'll be dealing with Yuuki for a long time, so I'll have to keep reminding him of his obligations. While all this was happening, the preparations of the Mage Corps were completed. Just as we were about to depart, Kagali approached me with a serious expression. Rimuru-sama, may I ask you something? Sure, what is it? You mentioned returning a safe haven to us, but that's based on the premise of winning the upcoming battles. Are you confident that we can win? It's not that I'm returning the puppet state of Jistav, but rather that Milim is relinquishing it. But putting that aside, if you ask me whether I'm confident of victory, the answer is no. However, there's no point in thinking about what happens if we lose. I do consider the worst case scenarios, but right now, we're already in that state. So, all we can do is give it our all to win, right? That's why I don't think about what happens if we lose. I only think about what we can do to win. We should strive to avoid conflict as much as possible. That's why we shouldn't provoke or corner our opponents. But if it does come to a fight, then we have no choice but to steel our resolve. Basically, if we're going to do this, we have to go and resolve to win. It's simply a matter of taking on the challenge, that's all, I replied to Kagari's question with a smile. Yuuki nodded at this and began to speak, patting Kagali lightly on the shoulder. Well now, isn't that just like Rimuru? We're pretty much the same, aren't we? Essentially, it's simple. We just have to win and make back our losses. That sounded just like Yuuki, but life isn't a gamble. Then again, the frustrating part is that approaching it casually, with that kind of attitude, seems likely to make them perform better. Yeah. The president's overthinking things. We're already game over, you know. From now on, we should just go with the flow and follow the powerful. That powerful one, that's not me, is it? Oh, well. Whatever, I guess. I suppose so. Well, no need to worry. Rimuru will sort things out somehow anyway, so we just need to do what we can, in our own way. Without getting worked up about it, right? What does the Heavenly Emperor say? Stop dumping the responsibility on me. Now. Don't now me. Alright then, shall we get going? Roger. Okay then, we'll do our best over here. Wahahaha. We'll make up for our failures in the battle against Ivarage. Rimuru, fear not, for I am here. Well then, I shall be off. Alright then, Rimuru-san. We'll go on ahead and wait for you there. And so on, the group members said whatever they pleased before leaving. And then, Yuuki's teleportation activated, leaving me, alone, behind in that spot. Kufufufufu. Well then, Lord Rimuru, shall we proceed to the former Urazania? What? That startled me. I couldn't help but let out a weird sound. As if it were the most natural thing in the world, Diablo was somehow waiting nearby. He blended in so naturally that I hadn't even noticed him, which surprised me about myself. Why are you still here? As Lord Rimuru's butler, it is my position always to be of service to you. Loyalty, when taken too far, can be a bit much, huh? Oh, well. Diablo's pretty beat up right now, so I can't expect much from him in terms of combat strength. If he went to Damragania like this, he might just end up getting in the way anyway. It was probably safer all around to keep him under my supervision. Or so I told myself. And so, I shifted gears. Let's go. As you command. Diablo bowed his head at my words. Next after Milm is Velzard. Why does Dragonkind have to be filled with such troublesome people? Swallowing that grumble, I brought Diablo along and activated teleport towards the former Urazania.